Hi, I'm Stacey Kinyanjui and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today's video is gonna be a book review. One of the objectives I had this year was to read more books, and I figured to keep the momentum going, why not do book reviews and highlight some of the key lessons I got from the books that I read. So here we go! Today's book of the day is Becoming Michelle Obama by Michelle Obama. So for anyone who doesn't know, Michelle Obama is the late First Lady of the United States of America. And she was just an inspiring role model, I think, to women all over the world and just anyone in general because of how she utilized her time in the White House. The book itself is divided into three sections. The first section is Becoming Me. The second section is Becoming Us, and then the third section is Becoming More. Part one of the book, which is Becoming Me, basically follows Michelle as a kid, how she was as a kid, her personality, and the things that took place in her life and the people that were in her life that basically helped to shape her to the woman she became. Part two is Becoming Us, and part two basically follows Michelle, who's now a grown-up. She's like a young adult. It basically follows her, how she met Obama and their dating life. She even talks about arguments that they had, challenges that they had as a couple, and basically looks through their life before they were now pushed into the political spectrum of things. Lastly, part three of Becoming More basically talks about Michelle and how she was a first lady, her life as first lady, the things she did, the challenges she encountered, and just basically life in the White House and what it meant, how it impacted her and her family. So when you think about a book written by Michelle Obama, you would think maybe there'd be lots and lots of politics in this book, but honestly, it's the complete opposite. This book has very little to do with politics. It gives a unique view of Michelle Obama's life. It's less politics and more like you catching up with your friend and they're telling you what's happening in their life. And that's something that I really, really loved about this book because she is very open about her story. She shares her challenges. Like she mentioned so many things. For example, she even talks about times she would argue with Barack Obama, and she shares about that. She shares about her having difficulty having kids and how they dealt with that. She even talks about there's a time and point that she realized they needed couples therapy and they decided to do couples therapy. So it is a very open book about her life, the challenges she encountered, and as a person, just there's so many stories here that you'll be able to relate to just as a human being. And I have to say that's what I love about this book. The book itself, as you can see, is pretty big. There's really a lot of pages that you have to go through. I think it's around 300 pages. So it definitely will take you a bit of time to finish, maybe a few weeks. And you can also listen to the audio of it because I heard it's really, really good. Personally, I haven't listened to it yet, but I do plan to. It's narrated by Michelle Obama herself and it's about 20 hours. So if you listen to 2 hours each day, you should be done with it pretty quickly. Here are some of the lessons I learned or some of my key takeaways from reading Becoming Michelle Obama. Life is never finite. In the book, Michelle says one of the questions that she hates that adults always ask kids is, when you grow up, what do you want to be? And to her, she hates this question because it paints life as, if you say you want to grow up and become a doctor, once you become a doctor, you've made it in life and there's nothing more to it. And if you live your life like that, then you'll never truly be happy because once you achieve that thing, then what next? To Michelle, she believes that life should always be viewed as an ever-changing, ever-growing process. In the book, you see how she comes from such humble backgrounds and her parents really worked to make sure she got the best education that she could get. So she's a person who was accepted into Princeton and then later on got into Harvard Law School. And after that, she got into a job as a lawyer that was really paying her well. But after all that, after all those years of studying, she realized she does not like law. She does not like being a lawyer. And had she continued to think life is finite and she's made it and you can't just quit after you've gotten everything, she would have stayed in a job that she did not like and a job that didn't fulfill her. But instead, she decided to quit her job and look into a completely different industry where she would feel more passionate and more happy about what she was doing. The second takeaway I got from the book is to always speak your mind or always use your voice. A quote that I really loved from the book is, "If you don't go out there and define yourself, the world will quickly and inaccurately define you." I really love this quote, and throughout Michelle's life, you can see how she really lived by this quote. So during her campaigns, she talks about how she was being portrayed as an angry Black woman. And in the book, she says, which one are people really mad about? Is it that she's angry? Is it that she's Black? Or is it that she's a woman? So what she did when she realized this is how the media is portraying her, she decided she really needs to go out there and tell her story. And the story that she chose to tell is the story of her growing up, the story of her being a kid, the story of her dating Barack. She even talks about how, for the amazing, brilliant person that he is, he's also a person who can never pick up his socks where he leaves them. And things like those small stories that anyone can relate to really helped people to connect with her and really helped the campaign. Key takeaway number 3 is change happens over lifetimes. So in the book, she basically talks about how she met Nelson Mandela, and that's when she truly understood that true change can't be fully completed by one person's initiative. It has to be people each time taking the initiative to do something. So the gist of it all is, as a human being, you might have huge dreams that you want to achieve. You maybe want to change the world or do something that's gonna really impact the world in a big way. But sometimes you have to be okay with the fact that you might start that race, but you might not be the one to finish it. So she basically says we should focus on the journey and focus on those small steps that really help to make progress, because small steps add up to something big. Lesson number 4. So lesson number 4 is basically about time, and she talks about if you don't take control of how you spend your time, other people will very quickly take up your time, and you're gonna always be left feeling empty because you're not assigning your time to things that matter to you the most. So a huge example of this is when she first had her first daughter, and I think she was working at a school, it could have been Harvard. So she realized she needed time to be with her family, but at the same time, she loved her career. So she just went and told the person in charge that she needs to be able to work part-time. And by her voicing out her thoughts, she wasn't immediately fired or rejected, because she was somebody who was always delivering on the things she was meant to deliver. So instead, she was allowed to work part-time. Later on, she realized part-time doesn't work for her because it's part-time, you're being paid part-time, but the work is the same, the workload is the same. So basically, you're being paid part-time, but you're doing all the work that you used to do when you're doing full-time. So she realized she needs to change this. And I think when she got into another role, first of all, she had an interview to get into another role. And at the time, she didn't have a babysitter or anything. So she walked into the interview room with her young child. And this is what she thought to herself is, if you really want to hire me, the question about delivering, there's no question about it. I'm a person who can deliver. And if you want to hire me, this is what I come with. I come with being a mom. And if I get a call that my kid needs anything, I'll need to go there and tend to my kid. If my kid calls or in a meeting, I'm going to pick up the phone call because it's my family calling. And she basically voiced out what she needed, and she still got the job. So this was her example of saying you really need to voice out the things you want in life. You need to voice out how much time you can give to something and truly be honest about how much time you can give to something. And the last point is, the person who can save you is basically you. So in the book, she talks about how she visited a school in her old neighborhood, or in a neighborhood that wasn't really safe. There was a lot of gun violence in that neighborhood. And when she visited the school, the kids were basically showing her their drills or what they do when they're going home, like how they have to walk longer distances to avoid certain areas where they know gun violence is very prominent. And then at the end of that narration, or like the kids telling Michelle Obama about their hardships of just having to go to school and knowing that going to school can mean you'll die on your way, they asked Michelle Obama, so what are you going to do about this? And she was pretty honest to them, and she told them, honestly, not much. And the reason she said this was because most people, according to her, who were in the political scene at the time, weren't really up close and personal with the challenges that everyday people were experiencing. You were constantly putting down any solutions that were brought forward. So she told them there's not much she can do, but she told them they should use education as their weapon to get out of such situations and such environments, or basically to change the environment to become something more than it is, something better than it is. And she used herself as an example. So that's it. And honestly, there's so many lessons you can pick from this book, so many stories you can identify with as a person, and so many key things that you can apply in your life that will be helpful. So that's why I really, really love this book. I think it was released back in 2019, and one of the things I love is I'm reading it in 2022, and I was captured through the entire time. Through the entire time, I loved the story. I could identify with some of the things that were being said, and it's just nice to see a book that can be able to stand the test of time and still be relevant and impactful when you read it. So that's it for my book review. Let me know in the comments section if you're gonna read this book or not, or if you're interested. And yeah, if you've read it, let me know some of the key takeaways you had from the book. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel and remember to give this video a thumbs up.